Wayakontake, Earth Keeper, Earth Keeper. Your feet are wet from many lands. Keep your heart clean, and you will see the unseen. Saishale, Wayakontake, carried over nations' water. Saishale. Hello, happy Friday, everyone. Thanks for joining me here at New Heart Transformation on Soma Fusion Media. Today I have with me Sarkis Love. Hi, how are you?
Hi, good. Nice to see you, Farida.
You too. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
And so I love the spontaneity of these talks, so thank you for being open to having a plan.
Yeah, yeah. I, I, I've worked with children for many, many years, so I feel like being in the flow and having a structure, but not necessarily being attached to the plan, is a good way to be.
That's awesome. And I told you already, but like Spirit, I wanted to have a background for you, but Spirit was like, nope, absolutely not. You know
Yeah,
what you know, and you're just gonna flow. So,
yeah,
so
definitely.
found that pretty interesting. And then I already thanked you for the introduction to really great person that I want the listeners to be able to know
Mm.
that man and his work. And so, if you don't mind speaking a little bit on that,
Oh, sure. So you mean Rupert Spira? Him?
I sure do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you're listening out there and you are into uh, I guess, waking up to your true nature or to reality or however you want, then this guy, Rupert Spira, I highly recommend. He's basically a teacher on like the nature of consciousness. And so there's lots of different pathways to that, but there are certain kinds of teachers who are teaching just about like who am I? Like what is the essential nature of ourselves? And he's a teacher that teaches that, and he's very British. So I find him to be like very clear and precise, and um, he tends to use the same languaging over and over again. So it's easy to kind of track what he's saying. And if you just want some really simple, direct pointers to who you are and why that would be beneficial, I think he's an amazing teacher.
And you have another amazing teacher that you're involved with, and who is that? The one that we also spoke
Oh,
of.
Byron Katie?
Yeah.
Yeah, Byron Katie is amazing for me. And again, Byron Katie and Rupert Spire, like what they have in common, I would say, is sort of a timeless practice called inquiry. Like if you look at most of the spiritual traditions of the world, like throughout time, and you go way, way back, there's usually like, lots of things fall off because like this tradition has this practice and this tradition like focuses on this deity and this one. But what they all have is some kind of meditation practice or contemplation, like being still. That's one thing. And the other thing is inquiry, just like a gentle turning towards the nature of our own experience. And um, so I gravitate towards teachers who tend to focus on those main practices because those are the ones that are timeless and tested. And so Byron Katie, she kind of has a contemporary version of inquiry that she calls the work, which is basically just 4 questions and a turnaround. Um, you're basically just questioning your thoughts. So if you're suffering, generally there's a thought that you're believing about reality that's not true. And so her method, which she calls the work, is just basically that inquiry. It's 4 questions saying, is it true? Like, is that thought true? How do you know it's true? Who would you be without that thought? And anyway, so it's brilliant.
Nice. And so I don't want to assume anything, but you must have been questioning to find you found some brilliant um, brilliant teachers. So I just want to speak a little bit to your journey
Mm-hmm.
that brought you to the wisdom of yourself.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. Well, I think what I would say is, well, one thing I want to say as a just a preliminary statement for anyone out here is that, like, if you're watching this show, it's like there's the mind is hoping that it's going to get something, you know, and that's great. It's great to like acquire knowledge and experience and knowledge and experience. Um, but I also hope my hope is also that you discover that there's nothing to get, because at the end of the lifetime we all die, and we don't take anything with us. We literally take nothing with us. We're born with nothing, no ideas, and when we die, we take nothing with us. And so I feel like there's something about that that's important to know. Um, anyway, I'll throw back to how I got here. When I was a teenager, I had this strange experience in college. I was taking, you had to, a freshman year, you had to take a bunch of core classes like history and philosophy and psychology, and this one week I had a class and we were studying Copernicus, and I was like, oh, this is cool. This guy is really interesting. And it was like a history class, so we're studying Copernicus. And then I go to my next class, and I don't think this was planned. I go to my next class, which was philosophy, and we're studying Copernicus. And I was like, whoa, that's really that's really that's really interesting.
Mm.
And then the next class, studying Copernicus again, and again in three different classes like history, psychology, philosophy. And I was walking home after that last class, and something happened. You could say I had an awakening. It was like the first moment that something let go inside me, and I suddenly realized that my entire life, I was 18 years old at that point, my entire life I had been looking out there for answers. My teachers knew the answers, my government knew the answers, my parents knew the answers, my religion knew the answers, my sports coach knew the answers. Everyone out there had answers, but I never thought to myself, maybe the answers aren't there.
Mm.
And so I suddenly realized, like, wait, philosophy, psychology, history, they're all trying to make sense of reality. And then all of a sudden, and I can't really describe this because it wasn't really an experience. It was more of like an unraveling where I realized all the answers are right here. Like, the only way I would know if there's a correct answer or not is inside myself. And so that was a big experience I had when I was 18. And it set me, ironically, I made the mistake of then going and trying to seek that experience again, that
Mm.
kind of awakening experience. Um, and I'll just abbreviate this because you're asking about my history, but that took me towards, like, wait, who am I and what are these things about? And that led to healing work, and I went to the Barbara Brennan School of Healing, and then I thought I was going to heal myself and heal the world. And I'll just say quickly that after I did like 15 years of super deep healing work, going to therapy every week for years, and that was extremely helpful. Just uncovering all the beliefs and all the feelings and all the stories and all the traumas. Where I got to at the end of all that was, wait, like, I'm kind of just taking layers off of what? And that's where I found the work with Byron Katie and Rupert Spira. And I suddenly realized that, oh, this is about a deeper investigation. It's not about healing myself or perfecting myself or getting to some perfected state. It's about knowing who I am. So that's a real brief version. But I kind of had to go through the lens for me of healing work and trying to heal everybody out there and trying to heal myself, trying to fix the world. And once you fail enough at that, you realize, I realized maybe that's not what it's about.
Yeah, and that's how I started this whole thing of this new heart transformation, because I was
Yeah.
a seeker.
Yeah,
Everything, like you
exactly.
said, everything, all the answers were outside me. No, I have that. Are you my mother? Are you my mother?
Exactly.
Are you my mother? So, I
That's cool.
finally realized that one of my teachers, who was actually just a mirror, since we're all mirrors of self here,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
one of the greatest mirrors in my life was this person, and they said, "Shut the fuck up."
Yeah.
And I was like, what? They just told me to shut the fuck up. Well, I did.
That's it.
And
That's it.
but it still took years after that, because I'm such a social butterfly and I'm very outward, and and so it took me probably 4 more years after that to recognize, or as I use the word recognize, as recognize,
Beautiful.
um,
I love that.
like the whole thing of like, oh, all these other people are saying that there's a stillness that exists. So how do I find how to be quiet? And so again, it's in asking the questions of yourself
Yes.
that you receive the answer, because as that mirror person told me, the answer is the question.
Beautiful.
Who am I?
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And
I'm.
then my answer finally became I am.
That's it.
And what is I am? I am is that stillness. I am is that space of love. I am is faith. I know that we had a little
I
about
love that.
faith,
Yeah, let's go there.
but at faith, I don't even begin to define it. It's just I am that. That's my faith, is I am that. I don't cling to any religiosity or any of that. Is that I do recognize that I am
Mm,
that which I am, and that's my faith. Is like I am here, I am presence, I am energy, I am. So my faith is that I am.
yes.
There's something happening. I'm not really sure exactly what it is, but I have my ideas.
Yeah.
But my faith is that I am, and that there is something that is occurring here. So I have faith in
Yes.
that something that is occurring. So what I think that I linked in with you on that conversation
Mm,
is the experience of the fact that I am.
perfect. I love that. I love that. I think that's really well said. And I just want to basically say some of the things you just said and say them in slightly different ways. Um, I love the shut the fuck up. That's brilliant because what like there's a teacher, her name is Gangaji.
Uh-huh.
Gangaji?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of you might know Gangaji out there. Gangaji's teacher, Papaji, and she tells the story. He said to her, like one of the first things he said to her was, "Stop," and he meant it comprehensively.
Mm-hmm.
Stop, which is what your mirror said to you. Shut the fuck up. It's the same thing. It's like all those machinations and movements and seeking and I need to do this and do that are sort of movements away from the I am, is what you're saying. So that's what Gangaji's teacher said to her, and it it woke her up, that invitation. She did. She stopped. She said, "Okay, what actually happens if I stop? What's discovered there?" So I just want to say that's another version of that. Same thing. It's the same pointer. Stop. Shut
I
the fuck
like
up.
that idea of the invitation,
Yeah.
because I I believe this life is an invitation
Yeah.
to rejoice,
Yeah.
to recall, and to
Mm.
remember.
Ooh, beautiful.
Because we're these things that we are in, these temples,
Yeah.
these vessels, these spaceships that we call our bodies,
Right.
are pretty amazing. Um, but we walk around and constantly bombard them without respect,
Yeah. Yeah.
honor, and being humbled by their magnificence.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I love that. Um, I want to say two things. The first thing is just I love the spaceship. There's another teacher, a spiritual teacher. His name is um, H.A. Almas. He's the progenitor of the diamond heart work, the diamond
Mm,
approach. He's in the Bay Area.
nice.
Yeah, he has a book called Space Cruiser Inquiry. I think it's called Spaceship Cruiser Inquiry, something like that. But it's a groovy book if you want to read about consciousness. Um, but I want to give like the viewers like one little trick around this, what you were speaking to, the I am, because I think that is the most essential and important thing to discover. Because if you start the sentence I am, the mind can put anything at the end of that. I am a mother. I am a man. I am an important person. I am a spiritual person. Whatever it is, the thing that goes after the words I am changes infinitely, right? There's no anyway, the point is the I am is the one thing that doesn't ever change there. That's the part that doesn't ever go away. I
Mm,
am. And that's why it's the most essential thing to discover, in my opinion. And so, for all the seekers out there, I want to give just a little tool or a trick because I was a seeker for a long time. And ironically, a lot of suffering came from seeking something out
mm,
there. And so what I would offer to anyone, to myself, if I forget, is anytime there's something that I'm seeking, usually there's a movement from here towards some object out there, whether it's money or an emotional state or happiness or a partner or I want a home or I want stability, but seeking something out there. It's like what I find is that hardly anyone, and this was true for me too, hardly anyone ever just traces back. Like if something's moving from here towards an object out there that's going to fulfill me, no one ever investigates in this direction. Like, what is the source of the person who's seeking something? And go toward that source.
nice. It's like
Yeah.
the when you point your finger, there's more pointing back at you.
Yes,
So
I love that.
one of the hardest things is that it all comes back to you. It all comes back to you,
It does.
right?
It
So
does.
that's kind of unbelievable that you created whatever is occurring because,
Yeah.
like you said, if it's outward, there's something that you're reflecting,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we 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 tend to want to project instead of like investigate,
Yeah.
like you said.
Yeah. Exactly.
what 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 did I do? Ask yourself the questions. Why am I reacting? How did I project? How did I, meet the I, checking the I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. And and sometimes people ask me, it's too sort of like theoretical for them. Like, well, why would I do that? Why does it matter who I am? You know. And some part of me is like, well, yeah. I mean, keep. You can get the Mercedes in the house and do that, and then see if it makes you happy. And if it does, for, don't listen to what I'm saying. Just stay with the Mercedes. But my experience tells me that most people they get the thing they think they want, and then they're happy for a little bit, but it doesn't actually give lasting fulfillment.
Mm.
And so one of the things that you can just check in your own experience is again like why would I do this? Why would I investigate the nature of who am I? And one thing I would say is if you examine just just write down a list of the ten most painful things you've ever experienced ever in your life. The circumstances will be different, your age will have changed, like what happened and who it happened with will be different. All the conditions will change except one thing will be the same. in all the 10 most painful experiences of your life. You, you're at the center. You're at the center of every single one of those people. And this gets a little tricky because of the wording. It's hard to just, but basically what I mean is like that person that you think you are, that is the main character, the main protagonist in the most painful experiences of your life. It's also at the center of the of other parts of your life, but that's why it's important to investigate. Because if you want to understand how you're suffering, then it behooves you to understand who. Who's this character that is at the center of all of your suffering? And, again, it's like that's the incentive, you know. If you want to suffer less, then I would encourage one to investigate. If your suffering is kind of managed and you're just happy being comfortable, skip all this. Just live your life. It doesn't matter.
It's true. Just live your life.
Yeah.
Just live your life. It's a great program because life is not some about doing. It's about what is happening for you, what is occurring for you. So,
Yeah.
um, trying to force or trying to do this or trying to do that. No, just allow your life to do for you. Allow
Mm,
your life to do you. Allow
yeah.
your life to
Beautiful.
create your experiences. And once I shifted that, and I think that's a more divine feminine, or just the feminine, it's a
Sure.
more of a softer way of existing and
Hmm.
appreciating, um, the lessons that come, the things that are written for you. Because I do
Wonderful.
believe there's a program. Like I said, I have faith that there's a program that I'm
Nice.
following.
Yeah.
Getting to following the program is being at that level experience where, you know, you're just here. It's cool. I'm just here. I'm just enjoying it. I'm not affected because I've done my journey inside, and so now it's just being open to receiving um, the experiences. And
Yes.
I'm like, I'm not attached. It's cool. Whatever is gonna happen is gonna happen. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
So it's a good point to have come to.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the other thing that I've carried with me since I was I don't know, about 14,
Mm.
when I first started like venturing into this mm, quote unquote spiritual side of life.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I don't like any of that anymore. It's like,
Same.
it's just the experience and the journey of being
Yes.
me, me, which is magnificent essence, is what I've qualified as. Me is magnificent essence. We all are
I love
essence.
that.
We're all essence. And
Yes.
you is your own universe. So your me and you is magnificent essence of your own universe. That's
Oh,
what you're
beautiful.
that's what you're recovering or
I love that.
understanding or coming back to, is that.
Mm.
And at the point where I, like 14, I was saying I carried with me guru, GURU.
Mm.
So you're the teacher.
Yeah.
You are the teacher.
Yeah. Yeah.
When the student is ready, the teacher will come. Like, you are the freaking teacher. It's so
Yes.
easy. Like, once you release and open into that, that's the experience. It's so awesome.
Beautiful. Yeah. I totally agree. I've heard that the word guru literally translates as from darkness to light.
Mm-hmm.
And if you notice, there's no teacher there in that word. It means from darkness to light. So from our own, you know, obscured awareness to just the light of awareness. Ah, here's who I am. So, and
What does your name Sarkis mean?
it means shepherd or protector.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Thank you. Yeah, I love that. And for people watching, like I've done probably like a few decades of, a couple of decades of childcare professionally and helping people. I've also been a healer and a therapist and all of that as well. So I help people, but I've also worked a ton with children. And so this, sometimes that this part of me that is more like a mother, like mothering, like for me, masculine and feminine sort of dissolved a long time ago. And I'm rest more in this place of being, which is wonderful, because in being, if I need to be a little bit more feminine, oh yeah, okay. If I need to get a little bit more masculine, okay. I don't really take those on as identities,
Mm.
but being can be anything, you know. And so that's why I really love that. So I think Sarkis is also the same name as like Serge, Sergey, Sergio, Sarkis. They're all the same root, and I think that means to serve.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
I do believe that there is a lot of power in the name that you are given, or that the
Yeah,
name that you receive in this lifetime. So,
me too. I have very much been a shepherd and a protector of people mostly, and I love people deeply.
yeah, me too. And my name translates to
Oh yeah.
precious or unique.
Oh, wonderful.
So I lean towards the side of precious, but focus of precious, because we're
Yay.
all unique. That's, we're all unique. But
Yeah.
like, just I don't know. I adore this process of people coming to this experience of life, just and recognizing that you don't have to seek, because it's all there for you. Just like Rumi, I love Rumi so much. I don't know
I
anybody who
love Rumi.
doesn't love Rumi, but
Right, exactly.
you know. So
Yeah.
I am writing a book um, that's about this journey um, to stop seeking.
Beautiful.
And
Yeah.
just, recognizing that all that stuff that you're like spinning yourself in circles about, it's just to help you create this, again, that my greatest mirror taught me, the circle is
Mm.
the spiral
Mm.
that creates the sphere.
Ooh,
And
beautiful.
in the sphere, those that are actually being able to see can feel and understand the energy of the sphere is
Mm.
what we're here to come to.
Mm.
And the energy of the sphere is when the two hands come into prayer
Mm.
and they rest at your heart.
That's beautiful.
So that's, that this coming together, this this coming together. So if you can feel the energy of this,
Mm.
you can feel the energy of the coming together, the magnetism
Mm.
that's happening as
I like
you
it.
reach that sphere.
Yeah.
And that was not me
Yeah.
speaking. You know what I'm saying? That's why I love that
Yes.
energy of the sphere, is because messages come when you're not in the way, and the magnetism is happening, between, and I'm using my hands for those who can't see. Just put your hands, next to each other and bring them together. You're going to receive. So when
Oh.
you're in that sphere, in that energy of connectedness, you receive messages. Words come through you. That's how books are written. That's how, teachers teach. Like, the space of all that is creation.
Beautiful. Thank you. I love that. And I want to tag that back to what we were saying, what I was saying earlier, what we've been talking about here, about the I am. And I gave this example of like, I was kind of giving the negative side, like make a list of the 10 most painful things in your life and who's at the center of that. And you'll find this character called Sarkis, like, ugh, like all these bad things happen to a Sarkis, this constructed character, right? But then if you also were to make a list of the 10, just go with five, the five most profound or ecstatic or pleasurable experiences of your life, they're all defined by the absence of that character.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I had this profound experience in the forest. I disappeared. Sarkis wasn't there. I made this artwork. I didn't do that. Right? You hear that all the time. These blissful, ecstatic states are defined by the absence of the ego self. It's not a good or a bad thing. It's just that, what does that tell us? And so, again, I'm just encouraging people who might be listening to this, like, what's the incentive of investigating I am? Is because the I am doesn't actually have any form or content to it, you know, which means I can find myself anywhere. I can walk out the door and be like, this version, and you can wear these clothes, and you can be anybody you want to be, as long as you don't get stuck in that as a permanent identity,
Mm.
because it's that identity that suffers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And so
true.
that's what I mean. I'm just sort of, I think we're just saying the same thing over and over again. But I love your example of like, like I wrote this thing, it just came through, right? That's because you were empty. I am is empty, and so that's a skill. But that's a skill to learn how to, like you said, you know, that's a skill.
And that's why I love yoga. People think that it's like the
Yeah.
asanas that are the thing. No, the asanas are not the thing. The
Right.
end shavasana
Right.
is the the whole thing, because
Right.
if you've done the practice and the forms correctly, when you rest
Mm-hmm.
shavasana, it's corpse pose for a reason. Like you're empty.
Yes.
You've gone through these things of the breath and everything, and just movements and whew,
Yeah.
shut the fuck up. Oh yeah, okay, there I
Exactly.
am. I'm at
Yeah.
shut the fuck up. This is good.
It is good. It is good. Exactly. Exactly. When the chatter of the ego quiets, what's revealed there? Infinite, infinite possibility, infinite consciousness.
And the soundless sound of
Mm.
the universal consciousness. That's that's where, your heart space, where you reside in that emptiness.
Beautiful. I love that. I love that. I just had a, yeah, that's lovely. I feel that quiet in me
Mm,
now. It's like,
it's nice. Yeah,
mm,
that's where I'm at right now. Is just letting people experience that, because I've just almost finished hypnotherapy school.
oh,
So
cool. Wonderful.
yeah, so really guiding people to that space.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, like again, what I would, I might just be repeating myself, but it's like one way that hypnotherapy can be useful. I haven't studied hypnotherapy, so, but my sense is like, where most people are getting caught in their life is just being identified with thinking and believing. So like, like thoughts are like clouds in the sky. We've heard that before. It's like when a cloud goes through the sky, I don't point at the cloud and go, "Oh, that's the sky now." I can recognize, oh, that's just a temporary object in the sky. And thoughts are the same thing. Like thoughts just come up in consciousness, they arise in the open space of consciousness, but then they go away. But we get into trouble when we grasp onto those thoughts and believe them.
Mm.
And um, so anytime that that's happening, anytime that there's, oh wait, I lost my train of thought. What were you saying just before this?
You're gonna ask me to repeat too. I'm in I'm in the space
Oh,
of
hypnosis and yeah, hypnotherapy. Yeah, so hypnotherapy is a great tool because it kind of gets in there and 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 takes a person sort of away from their thinking process, and then their consciousness has access to unlimited things, right, outside of the constraint of the thinking process. Thinking
Mm,
process is great. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's a tool. It shouldn't be where we live all the time. Again,
mm.
unless we want to be suffering.
Yeah, suffering, attaching, and clinging to
Yeah,
some idea of what this experience is. And I
yeah,
did that for so long. It's like, oh,
me too.
enlightenment. I gotta find this thing. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, no.
yeah, yeah. Beautiful.
Mm,
Fareed, I don't know you that well, hardly at all. This is basically our first long conversation, but
right.
I'm really feeling and enjoying your, like, it's like zest for life. Like you really enjoy life, and
Mm,
I can tell because because you're engaged. Like I feel really connected to you, and I feel gifted by that. Like, oh, she doesn't really know me, and I don't, but you're interested in me,
Mm-hmm.
and I imagine you're like that with most people. Like you're like, wait, who are you? Is
I,
that
I,
true?
yeah, I definitely have the curiosity and love for people. I was an anthropology major,
Oh, cool.
and I'm an artist. This necklace I made, that painting I did,
Wow, very cool.
and so I'm very fascinated by not how people think, but how people are in this world. Like, why
Right.
are you so angry? Like, what happened to you that you can't let go? You know, and I have my own shit I can't let go of, not,
Same
obviously,
here.
or that I let go of slowly, or that sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm reminded, oh, that was just a really shitty experience. But, I process it, I
Yeah.
deal with it, whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm very curious about people, especially people who have, quote unquote, done their work and researched themselves and are at that point. And so that's what grabbed me. I don't know what Facebook Live you had done, but
Yeah.
you done something that I was like, ooh, that's pretty cool. Like,
Yeah.
no, one of them was the faith conversation, but another one is like talking about like, um, just energy, just being. That's the one, just being, and that's like my thing right now. It's like
Yeah.
just being, like don't attach to it, just experience, just be, and see what happens in the freedom of just being present. So, spirit, God, whatever you, my guides, whatever you want to say, led me to you to have this discussion for my listeners about freeing yourself from tangling yourself, trip trapping yourself in a
Totally.
mess of, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to get to go. We're all going to die. So what are you doing in the process
Yeah.
of dying and living and dying? What are you doing?
Right.
How are
Exactly.
you enjoying? How are you enjoying this experience? Because one, I don't want to do it again, and two, I want to enjoy it while I'm doing it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. And and again, it's like if you're listening to this, it's like you're probably on some level a seeker. Like you want a more fulfilling quality of life. And so um, and we all want stuff, and we all want to be free from suffering. I would guess. Um, and again, like for me, well, I'll go. I want to go back to the example of the sky. Like when we think about the sky, we we actually think that the sky is a thing, right? Like it's a thing. But if you go outside and you look up, there's no such thing as sky. There is no such thing as a sky. You won't find a thing called sky. There's just vast open emptiness, right? But the mind makes it into like a thing. And so again, what makes the sky amazing is that it welcomes everything. You can set off a nuclear bomb in the sky, it doesn't even touch it. and and what I find is that consciousness is exactly the same. Like who I am is exactly the same as that. It's it's open, it's open, empty, potent nothingness. But if I rest in that nothingness, like I don't require myself to be like Sarkis is a cool guy who knows stuff, which is a limitation, right? Even if it's a profound experience, like Sarkis is amazing, it's still limited. So it's like I prefer to rest back into that limitlessness, and then I can be anything I want, and I feel free doing it. And again, that's what I would offer to anybody out there um, is if you investigate who you are, I think what eventually you find is there's nothing there, and the freedom that comes from that is profound. And I wish that freedom for everybody. That's my purpose in this life, you could say, is I would like to help anyone who wants to know the freedom of their own being to be able to experience that and live that way.
Mm, yeah. And so there's another thing from my greatest mirror that's something like, um, the importance of being nothing, or like
Yeah,
the it's kind of like it was very sarcastic the way that it was
sure.
said, but it's so true. Is like
Yeah,
you're you're nothing. It's
true. It's actually true.
I'm not being rude. I'm just
Yeah,
telling you, you're nothing because you're everything.
exactly. Exactly.
So I like that. And I also like what you're saying about like this guy is just embraces everything. And well, that's the whole thing, is that somebody once told me a story about how God created us to enjoy through us,
Yeah,
enjoy everything through us. So
cool.
all that God is doing is wanting you to be embraced by everything that you are.
Beautiful.
So yeah, I thought it was a nice story.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. Yeah, the image of you know, like the ocean comes to me. It's like let's pretend the ocean is like this limitless body of water. When it rises up into a wave, it takes form, right? But it never ever stops being the ocean,
Mm.
right? A wave is a form that comes, it lives a whole life, and it crashes and it dies, right? And that's true. It takes form, but not once did it stop being the ocean. And the same is true of consciousness. Like I can take form as a sarcas, and that's brilliant. I don't not interested in trying to be something else. But but I can also know my own being, which is limitless in that. So consciousness taking form as a sarcas and a Farida and whoever, and that's beautiful. But all of those forms dissolve back into the oneness.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Inescapable. So like get on board with the being part.
Yeah, because you're inescapable.
Exactly.
Your
Yeah.
being is always going to meet you wherever you are.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
mm,
Thank you.
it's pretty cool.
It is so cool.
So hopefully you like your being. But the cool thing is that your being is a spaceship, and it has the ability to shift whatever doesn't resonate with, like, the energetic. I don't know. When I was trying to research you, and spirit was not letting me, I happened to see that you deal with energy and
Mm-hmm.
vibration and resonance, and sound is one of the first things. Like, I don't know, in the beginning there was blah, my
Sure.
father used to and then there was light, and then, you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
um really awesome, to work with people on that level, and to get people to understand them about themselves, because I I read frequency in, um, I can read your sound frequency. It's some strange thing that I discovered that I
Oh,
can
cool.
do,
Wow.
is I
Beautiful.
can hear your vibration.
Oh,
Um,
neat.
and so I sound your vibration that I hear to you, and 100% of the time that I've tried it, it's been 100% like correct. So,
Cool.
just
Wonderful.
that we're able to pick up
Yeah.
on that level is quite amazing.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Sound has been a big part of my spiritual journey, you could say, um, in the sense that, like, for me, at the beginning of my, like, kind of learning to trust myself, things had to come a lot in as different forms of guidance, and I would often hear like a high frequency sound,
Mm-hmm.
um, that every time that sound came into my awareness, my mind would go still, or to use your phrase, my mind would shut the fuck up. It would just like it, the sound, whatever that frequency was, would just kind of like push everything out, and then what was left was like total stillness, and it was very confusing as a young person. I had no idea, because it was like I'd be in the grocery store like holding my mom's hand, and then the sound would just be like, And what I realize now is that that whatever that was a grace for me, and it was literally just pushing. It was just sort of like obliterating all noise
Mm.
internally, and I was getting to have like contact with my true nature, and then years and years and years later, after lots of different very profound spiritual experiences, I started to piece together the utter simplicity of that sound. Like, oh, oh, that primordial, because it wasn't a sound, it was just primordial silence.
Mm. Yeah, and it's interesting because I had like a buzzing whenever something's going on,
Exactly that.
and I was like, I'm trying to understand, and they're like, no, there's no understanding. There's allowing it, and then once it was just to shift my frequency. That
Yeah.
sound was bringing my frequency up, and once I rested in receiving it, it everything was cool. Like the buzzing was gone. But your your sound
Mm.
is like it's like the ocean wave. It's like a song. It's like a it kind of like dances. Your frequency, sound, vibration dances
Beautiful.
like a. It's like a echoing in the, like a one of those Yolehi who kind of it's like I can't I can't quite do it, but they did want me to give that and resonance for whatever.
Thank you. Yeah, I noticed. I noticed that I feel joyful. Yeah, and
That's what your
and
sound is. It's like this
yes,
bouncy, flittering, like a butterfly dance, like a ocean wave. And if I had more of a moment, I could probably sound it, but I did the best I could for now.
thank you, thank
And
you.
then I wanted to share a quote because in
Sure.
all of the yoga classes that I teach, I had a framed quote that just absolutely uh, puts it all together for me, and it's BKS Iyengar.
Yeah,
Yoga is like music, the rhythm of the body, the melody of the mind, and the harmony of the soul create the symphony of life.
it's
And
beautiful.
it's so my heart.
That's beautiful.
Mm,
That's really beautiful.
and
Yeah, I'm,
yeah,
I'm, I love that you didn't like research me, you know, and and it matches who I what my values are. You know,
mm,
like I'm not interested in being a someone. It's fine to be a someone, and it's okay to have accomplishments and achieve things. So I'm not knocking achievement in any way. I just it's just not the most important thing. You know, like if
yeah.
you
I
talk.
think. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I would say one more thing. Like, like there's a lot of cultures that value elders. And it's like if someone's young and naive, they're like, what do you mean? Like, what can elders do? They can't build anything. They're not gonna like help with the cooking. Like what can like a 90-year-old person offer us?
Mm,
And it's pretty much being.
experience, yeah. Being,
Yeah, yeah,
being the
and their life
experience.
experience around their own being. But at the end of it all, the more elderly someone gets, the more that their being becomes the thing that's most in front, the most visible. Because all the other things are falling away. Even the body's starting to fall away.
Mm,
And so, just years ago, because I had the grace of having some awakenings early on, I just knew that it's all going to fall away anyway. So just pay attention to the most important thing, which is the being part. And yeah, in that, I've had lots of different fun being lots of
mm,
different people. You know,
mm-hmm.
I love this life.
Right. And then paying attention to attention. Um,
Yeah,
like, what is your attention on? What are you
that's
paying attention to? Why are you paying attention?
that's beautiful. Sometimes people ask me because I have worked as an intuitive at times, and they've said, you know, what do you pay attention to in people? And when I work with someone, like if I was going to work with you, it's like often what I'm paying attention to is where they're paying attention in their own experience. So again, if you think about attention as think about it like a spotlight, right? Attention is always shining in a direction. It's always shining from source towards an object of our experience. So if I say, um, you know, put attention in what you're looking at, you know, it's easy. You go right there and you see Sarkis's face or his hand moving. If I say, pay attention to sound, it's like, okay, you just go directly to like, oh yeah, I hear that car on the 3 streets over. Okay. So attention is directed towards objects always. Okay, that's the function of attention, to stretch towards objects. Um, so to answer your question is, if I relax and I follow attention back towards its source, like from where or who is attention coming from, that's often what I'm paying attention to. And it's a little bit of a paradox because, in fact, some of the most profound experiences are when attention relaxes back into its source and it just rests. And those are the experiences where awareness can be kind of holographic. You can be aware of many, many things at once, like whole stories come in, just boom, you just know something all at once. That's not really a function of attention. That's more when attention relaxes. So attention is brilliant, and most preliminary exercises that facilitate the state of meditation are concentration exercises where you direct attention at one object, right? You focus on a candle or on the breath or on a mantra. And all of that is designed to let the mind focus so clearly on one point that it relinquishes its hold and flows back towards awareness, its source. And so that's a little tricky to talk about, but I think that was. Hopefully that was. Did that answer your question?
Oh yeah, that was definitely a really good insight into
uh,
the
yeah,
question for sure.
I, I I could say one more thing, which is the simple way to answer your question is, I sometimes pay attention to whatever it is I want to, and sometimes I just allow attention to dissolve back. I just relax. So relaxing attention on objects. Let it let go of objects and fall back into its source.
Relaxing,
Okay.
yes. This humans need to remember that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Relaxing, yeah, for sure. Well, it's such a pleasure to have this chat with you, and
Yay.
I would like to let people know where to find you. Should they want to
Sure.
have a chat with you?
Yeah, I have a website. Currently, I have a website, sarkisintuitive.com. You can find me there. I offer sessions and work with people and help them investigate, again, the nature of their own experience.
Nice,
Yeah, that's probably the best way to reach me.
awesome.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
I have a Facebook page and all that stuff, but you know, you can Google.
Google. They don't know how to spell your name though, because it's complex. How do you spell
Oh,
your name?
oh, it's Sarkis, and my last name is Love, Love.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Can I say one more thing about attention?
Of course. Yeah.
Just because I want to weave it into the theme of what we were talking about. Um, I loved your question, and it's important to be sort of paying attention to what we're paying attention to. And again, I just want to say to people like, well, why? Why would you do that? What's the incentive for investigating what I'm paying attention to? And again, here's my bias is if you notice suffering in your life when suffering happens, often attention has gotten hijacked. It's fixated on something, right? It's like that person fucking said that thing to me. Fuck them, you know? And it grabs onto it and it won't let go, right? And you just I wish I could let go of that, right? So that fixation is what brings suffering. It's not the event that brought the suffering. It's the fact that you're attached and fixated on it. And so again, that's one of the incentives for understanding where your attention goes.
Nice. And this whole like, I wish I could let it go. I wish I could let it go. Well, if you continue to wish you could let it go, you won't let it go.
Right? That's more fixating. More fixating. Exactly. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Frida. It's such a blessing